Meanwhile, U.S. industrial conglomerate Honeywell says it's going to bring back at least $7 billion from overseas over the next 2 years. This as FedEx announces it, too, will join the hundreds of U.S. companies giving back to their employees in celebration of the Donald Trump tax cuts. But Democrats are trying to downplay the benefits of the tax bill, claiming, well, these bonuses are just crumbs. Watch.
Some of them are not getting anything, some of them getting raises, and the rest are getting crumbs. And big corporations and wealthy individuals are getting nice fat pieces of pie.
In terms of the bonus that corporate America received versus the crumbs that they are giving to workers to kind of put the schmooze on is so pathetic.
Pathetic? Really? Crumbs? Really? Joining me right now, Kingsview Asset Management CIO Scott Martin, along with SureVest Wealth Management CEO Robert Luna. Scott, I mean, look, I just think it's out of touch. We're going to get a little political here. I know you guys are investors, but $1,000 means a lot to a lot of families. And the idea that Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and Debbie Wasserman Schultz and the rest of them are trying to portray this as nothing, it's out of touch. I keep saying this is the Marie Antoinette-like version of the Democratic Party. What do you think, Scott?
I think all these crumbs, Trish, are creating quite a mess for Democrats, aren't they? I mean, gosh, that storyline is just getting so old. And every day that we get good news pretty much from passage of the tax plan from these great men and women CEOs of American S&P 500 companies, I mean, that story gets more and more tired. And in your lead-in, you talked about S&P 500 earnings, Trish. You know, a lot of these earnings of these companies that are coming out, not only have they had good fourth quarters, but their outlooks are the best outlooks they've had in years because of the tax plan passage. So with respect to this story about things not happening for corporate America, not happening for the American worker from the Democrat side, the data is proving them completely wrong.
Yeah, you know what? As you're speaking, we were watching the scrolling list of company after company after company, hundreds of companies giving out bonuses as a result of the tax plan. Of course, if you listen to Larry Summers, former Treasury Secretary under Obama, and on his Economic Council, well, this is nothing but some kind of PR move. Here we go.
I think it's a gimmick. I think in many cases, the firms have to raise wages because labor markets are tight. And so why not curry some favor with the White House by linking it to the tax cut?
Rob, I'm sorry, but, you know, maybe one or two. But company after company after company after, I mean, they're all doing it. They're all giving out bonuses because they're saying, oh, my gosh, our earnings are going to be so much better. And all that money that was sitting offshore, we can bring that home to the United States now to make it work for us. The idea that Larry Summers is trying to say this is nothing but a gimme, is that, do you think, maybe sour grapes for him because he couldn't get this economy going himself?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was about to say, Trish. I mean, who's Larry Summers to be talking here? And the fact of the matter that Nancy Pelosi and Larry Summers are scoffing at $1,000, or in the case of Starbucks, $2,500 that's being given to his employees. You know, I heard Neil Cavuto talking to you at the beginning of the show. You know, let's be careful how condescending we're being to people. That may be the difference of them taking their family on a summer vacation this year. Yeah. That's real money. And let's talk about the wage increases that we've seen, even out of places like Walmart. These are several thousands of dollars that are going back into the consumer's pocket that are going to make a difference in the real economy.
Scott, this is what was driving me crazy, basically, for the last 10 years, as I looked at the lack of wage inflation. That was a real problem. And the idea that we weren't getting any kind of economic policy out of Washington. I mean, forget that $800 billion stimulus that went literally nowhere from Obama early in his term. But after that, I mean, it really was nothing. And we were entirely reliant on the Federal Reserve. Well, you know what that did. That created a two-tiered economy in some ways, because the only people that benefited from that were people with capital. So, Scott, for the Democrats, I mean, I look at the policies, the economic policies that they had. They were simply poor in that they did nothing to help middle-class Americans, did they?
No, it was anti-business. You mentioned the wealth gap that got even bigger. It destroyed the middle class, the government or the administrative policies. The mantra was, you didn't build that, Mr. and Mrs. Businessman. I mean, that was one of the worst statements I've ever heard when it comes to treating American businesses. And, you know, I just think, Trish, about what's the alternative here? I mean, let's say things weren't good. Let's say wages, like Robert mentioned, weren't growing at a nice pace now. Let's say America wasn't getting these bonuses. Workers weren't getting more contributions to their 401k via matches like Visa's doing now. I mean, what would be the commentary then? They'd be saying the same thing. I mean, it's unbelievably disingenuous and disconnected to come out on this great news that everybody's feeling, that everybody should be excited about, plus those 401k balances, which are at record highs, and just say that things stink and Washington's doing a terrible job for you.
You know, look, Rob, the tax plan isn't perfect, and our viewers know. I've nitpicked it a bit, and there are things that I would have preferred to see, loopholes closed. But overall, it is a positive for the economy. I mean, for the Democrats, I just wish they'd get their talking points right. Because for them to say it's not a middle-class tax cut is just plain wrong.
No, I mean, that's absolutely it. I mean, I think the middle class, if you're looking at the individual side of this tax plan, Trish, I think the middle class is going to receive the benefit. It is higher earners, really, in places like my state of California that may be getting squeezed a little bit. But I think the middle class is squarely benefiting from this. And let's remember, corporate tax cuts just aren't benefiting corporations. We're already seeing it with very low unemployment rates, rising wage inflation. You know, these are all positive things. And like we said, what else are the Democrats going to say right now? Very positive momentum. We're seeing that in new daily highs in the market.
They couldn't do it. It's got to drive Larry Summers just absolutely crazy. I guarantee you it does. Thank you so much, Scott and Rob. Good to see you guys.